We'll start in about 3 seconds, 2 or 3 seconds. I know. Well, as soon as I see that extra camera blinking, then I'll know he's on.
It's blinking.
They're blinking.
Okay. Doesn't that mean it's on, Brian?
Yes, that
Okay.
one. Yep.
Okay. I'd like to call our city council meeting to order and ask everyone to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The roll, please.
Belkey. Here. Belzak.
Here.
Kenny.
Here.
Marquez.
Here.
McIver. Shower.
Here.
Seifert.
Here.
6 present, 1 absent.
We have a quorum. The next item on the agenda is questions, comments, and announcements of a general nature. I was just introduced to Rick of Mi Hacienda. It's the item that we took off the agenda this evening, but I invited him to come up and speak. Rick, would you come up to the microphone, please?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Enrique Rodriguez. First of all, I didn't know it was off the agenda, but I was here 11 years ago, standing in front of everybody here when I wanted to open the restaurant. And like I told you 11 years ago, that this was my American dream. Before then, I did 25 years carpeting service. I did it for 25 years, being on my knees, installing carpet, and then I did my American dream, which thank you for allowing it, Mi Hacienda, that has been there for 11 years now. So out of these 11 years, it's been a family-owned business. Decided that I wanted to spend more time in my house in Cancun. So I moved to Cancun. I spent a lot of time in Cancun, and I come back and check on the restaurant, make sure everything's going fine. And as far as I know, for these 11 years, we have never had a police officer come and pick up somebody drunk or for a fight, because we're responsible of who we sell and how much margaritas we sell to the people. It is not a bar. I started it with the idea of the patio because I want to be honest, I always go to eat breakfast and I see all these breakfasts, 1 hour wait, 45-minute wait. And I said, what if I open a patio and it's breakfast? So I told Andrews, I want to open a patio. But I never mentioned to him about breakfast because I don't want to spread the word around yet until I really get the people to work on it. But that was the first idea I wanted, to do breakfast. But I said, I want to do a patio, and then he started getting people, and I didn't know anything. And when I saw the patio, I came back from Cancun and checked on it, and I saw all these things done. And I saw that he didn't get the permit, and then Michael called me, and I called him, and he said, well, I told the concrete guy to get the permit. He promised he was going to get the permit, and I found out he didn't get permit for this, and I'm in front. I want to apologize, totally apologize for not being here before. I should have came here before when I found this out. But he said, we're going to go get the permit. We're going to go talk with Mike. I had no idea what was really going to be a problem. But anyway, I do want to apologize. I just found out that he put screws where he's not supposed to and things like that. And these things I didn't know about. So, I know Andrew's, he's trying to help me because he did tell me, I want to help you put a patio so you could do better. But you got to help me. You're in Cancun. And I said, well, I want to go over there. And I flew yesterday over here because I thought the hearing was today. And, well, the idea of the patio, like I said, it's not going to be something for drinking. It's more for dining. I mean, in the summer, people want to dine out, and I was thinking of closing the dining area about 8:30 so I wouldn't disturb the neighbors. It's not for a bar, for purpose of a bar. And I would like to, in the future, start a breakfast. And I've went to the street here in my block, and I got 10 signatures that was okay with it. Only 2 were not okay because they're saying there's too many cars. But that was the only. I asked why. So we got too many cars already there. We got two restaurants, and it's going to be more cars. But with all respect, I mean, we do have some street space, and it's not bad. And also, we also have a lot of signatures of customers that do really like the idea of the patio. So that's all I have for tonight. I just wanted to ask you, please, just like you helped me out 11 years ago and opening my restaurant. I hope you all been there. I don't know if you have. I appreciate you supporting Mi Hacienda. E&L was there for a few years, but unfortunately I couldn't keep up with the business because I had a lot of contractors that went out of business owing me a lot of money, so I couldn't keep the building. So Andrew came by and bought it, and I'm renting now. But again, I love to keep the business, Mi Hacienda. You just want to make it a little stronger, and I would appreciate if you consider rethinking about this proposal of the patio, and take it from there. But I mean, no harm. I mean, you just want a nice atmosphere for when they come and eat. We'll close early, and but in the future, my idea is more for a breakfast area too.
Enrique, who put in the patio without permit?
He told I wasn't here. He hired a contractor.
The owner of the building?
The owner of the building hired a contractor, and Andrews told the contractor that if he was licensed to get a permit, and he said yes, and he lied to Andrews, saying that he had already picked up the permit. But Andrew, I found out that Andrew never came and verified also that if he had a permit, it was all he was lied also into the permit. The concrete guy came saying that he had already got the permit.
Yeah, it was more involved than just getting a permit to put down concrete. It was actually, to ask for a variance to put the patio next to the building in the first place.
Right, but it was
So,
just it was
yeah.
the same guy that
But,
did the whole
yeah,
thing.
so that whole process was,
Because Mayor, I remember being your next door neighbor. The Lithuanian restaurant had opened up, and people from your restaurant had approached the mayor, saying, "Hey, we want to put this patio out there." This was, and I remember the mayor saying, "You contact Dan Gombeck, you got to go through a process," and you're all, and I was listening right here. I was there listening to it, and I was surprised to hear that your restaurant went through this without a permit when the mayor actually told people from your restaurant this is what they needed to do.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was very unfortunate when I first found out that went in, because I specifically said it was a female manager.
Oh, yes,
Yes.
yeah.
She asked about a patio when we were at Old Vilnius for their
Ribbon
ribbon
cutting.
cutting 2 years, was it 2 years ago, Joe? I
I
think
was
it's
on
2 years.
council, so about a year and a half.
A year and a half ago, and she asked me about it, and I said, absolutely, contact our Dan Gombeck, and you'll have to go through the process of getting that approved. So that was pretty disappointing to see that that was done, and I think that turned out to be the major reason why
Well, yeah,
that
yes.
was, that was denied. So all I can ask is that both our plan commission and our planning committee revisit it. It would be helpful to see, did you say you had a petition of residents that live right on Main Street?
Yes.
There, that said that they would not be opposed to it?
Right, yes.
I would like you to share that information with Dan before you leave, so that we can make sure that everyone understands that there were some I understand from talking to one of the Plan Commission members that there were residents that were there that were not in favor of it for the very reasons that you mentioned, cars, noise, whatever. So.
And I am going to mention, because I did go door to door yesterday when I got home, and I did meet Mr. Well, I know him, George from the landscaping, that he was upset. He said, the reason I said no is because, if I built what was that, a mailbox, and they made me take my mailbox because it wasn't on the code and this and that. Why should you have it? Why should you do it? I said, okay, I understand your point, But then at the end, he said, well, if I didn't get it, at least you could get it. He signed off. I don't mind if you have the patio, so he signed it off. But
Well, there is a reason why we place mailboxes by the code, because snowplows go down streets
Yes,
and tend to
yes.
knock down mailboxes that are not put in properly. But I appreciate the comments.
Yes.
So,
So,
thanks for
yes.
sharing that.
Well,
with-
thank you very much, everybody. And like I said, I do sincerely apologize for not being totally involved. So I could have did everything the right way, and I take responsibility for that too. And I want to apologize to everybody.
Thank you
Okay.
very much for coming
you.
up. I apologize for not, no one notifying you that it was going to be taken off the agenda this evening. Dan?
Madam Mayor, do you want to address that issue right now, why it was taken off the agenda while Mr. Rodriguez is here? And
Why don't you? Yes.
Okay.
You want to go down the bullet points?
yes, and first of all, unfortunately, we knew that you were out of town. We did have a conversation with Andreas, and Andreas informed us that he would inform you. Obviously, you were out of the country, so again, unfortunately, that wasn't conveyed to you, so I want to make sure that, you knew exactly what was happening. In respect to the item being pulled off the agenda, it was staff had reviewed it again Friday morning. We felt that a couple things were ambiguous, and the ambiguity is due to we're approving something with a use that is basically not allowing you to use it for what you intended it to use it for, and basically it becomes a landscape feature. So, again, staff felt that the language was a little bit too ambiguous. We wanted to clean it up, and we're gonna bring it back to the city council on October 20th.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you very
That's
much.
the process right now. Thank you, Enrique.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Yes.
I'm
Thank
sorry,
you.
Mayor,
Okay.
but Dan, what you're talking about isn't a substantial change in terms of granting it. I mean, the recommendation from the Plan Commission and the committee still stands. You're just trying to clarify, I think, what came out of the committee.
Correct, committee and planning and zoning, just to make sure we were all clear on the language.
Okay.
So, again, just further clarification.
Well, we have, I think we have we have 3 members of the planning committee here.
The Municipal Services Committee.
Municipal Services,
We looked
I'm
at it
sorry.
on September 22nd. correct.
Okay.
Right.
What would be the process, Dan? Would it have to go back to the Plan Commission for reconsideration with more details of what Mr. Rodriguez just shared with us?
It necessarily wouldn't have to go back to the Planning and Zoning Commission. We could probably take it back to the Planning and Municipal Services Committee for further consideration. Let the public, the general public know. We'll double check with the legal to make sure we don't have to go back to Planning and Zoning for any matters. But already it's been reviewed by them and denied, so we take it back to the Planning and Development Committee and/or Municipal Services.
How many homes are on Main Street going south?
I'm gonna say about 20, 25.
And how many signatures did Mr. Rodriguez get?
Mm-hmm. 20 of them, it appears, that are all in support, and a couple others with no additional comments.
Are those 20 addresses too, Dan, or is it 2 from a house?
Um,
Can you tell from, I know you just got that, so I'm not sure if you could tell yet.
Yeah, there's a couple of them, 2 parties at an address. So if I was doing just a single address analysis, we'd be looking at, looks like 19 or 18 in support.
Okay. I think that would be pertinent information for both committees, actually. So let's check to be sure we're on solid ground by not going back to the Plan Commission, that we just go back to Municipal Services to revisit.
Okay, we'll do.
Okay.
And then we'll keep Mi Hacienda and Andreas.
And Rick, Enrique, this is your local number.
Yes.
Are you going to stay in town, or how?
Yes, I want to stay in town
Okay.
until the 20th, as long as I have to.
Okay, good.
Maybe
All right,
if you
so
could
that
leave
you
me your
could-
mobile phone number, other points of contact.
It was stolen, but I have it tomorrow.
Why don't you
swell.
give me a call tomorrow? You have my phone number. Thank you.
Dan, if Municipal Services is going to reconsider it, we don't have another meeting till the 22nd.
Correct.
So would we have to have a special meeting just to discuss this one item?
We
Or do-
could if the committee so wishes,
I mean, if
prior
you-
to the city council,
was
in order
gonna
to keep
say-
things expedited.
I was gonna say, if you wanna bring it back by the 20th, we would have to have a special meeting, because we're not scheduled to the 22nd.
So then you're going to have to poll all the members of the the 3 members of the
It-
committee to see if they're free?
I'm just curious of the urgency, obviously with the weather approaching, they're not gonna use it outside. I don't know if there is an urgency or not, but
Oh, that's true, too.
We really want to do it, start beginning in the year for next spring.
Yeah. I see what you're
yeah,
saying.
so it could fall within the normal.
I was just
committee.
thinking of taking advantage of the time that he's in town.
That's the only thing that, like right now, I normally come for a week or two, check on the business and go back and, have another little business over there too.
Okay.
So, I mean, if I have to stay, but then I would have to go and then come back for the next day, but that's what it has.
Well, let's do this. Poll the members of the Municipal Service Committee to see if they can come together for a special meeting. If they can't, then we'll just have to let you know that it's going to be put off for another date.
All right, if I have to go and come back, that's not a problem.
Okay.
And if there's any special meeting, obviously, we'd let the residents know, so we'd want to give a little time also for them to
That's true.
make sure they
Yeah.
can attend.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very
you.
much. We still have the questions, comments, and announcements time here. Does anyone else in the audience want to address the city council? This could be on any subject matter. It doesn't have to be just on items that are on the agenda this evening. Okay, then let's move on to the approval of minutes. We have the city council meeting minutes of September 2nd, 2014. Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Shower, seconded by Alderman Kenny. Any additions or deletions to those minutes? Then the roll, please.
Shower,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Belkey,
Abstain.
Belzak,
Aye.
Marquez,
Aye.
Seifert.
Abstain.
The abstentions go with the ayes, so that would make it 6 ayes and 1 absent.
The minutes have been approved. Under the approval of minutes, we have a special town hall meeting of September 25th. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes? Alderman Marquez, seconded by Alderman Belke. Any additions or deletions to those minutes? Then the roll, please.
Marquez,
Aye.
Belkey,
Aye.
Belzak,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Shower,
Aye.
Seifert.
Abstain.
The abstention goes with the group, so that would be 6 and 1 absent.
Those minutes are approved also. The next item is receiving of communications. Do any of the aldermen have communications to share? Alderman Belke?
I received a call from a residence on Iris. As you recall, that was one of the ditching projects, and the first rain that came before the sod was even planted, I got this call, and he said that he was very pleased of how the water was flowing, and that was even before the grass was put in. So thank you to Dan, and he thanked the council for approving that. The other communication I have is a resident on Poplar Lane, and this has to do with the high school parking issue, where we changed some of the flowage on some of the other streets, such as Brookbank and Evans, and now it appears that there's some problems now heading to the east for those other streets. So I talked to Dan about it, and I think that this is going to be on our upcoming discussions in October in a couple weeks, so we can talk about that whole Hinsdale South parking issue and come up with some ideas. The other communication I have is from a resident on the 200 block of 68th Street with some drainage issues, severe drainage issues, and Dan knows which resident I'm talking about. We've been going back and forth for months now, actually trying to get some help there, and this is going to be brought up again with our goal setting sessions as well. I'm not sure how the city can help at this moment. There's some studies done, so it's looking like it's a issue for the resident alone and not necessarily something that the city is contributing to. So let's revisit that. And that's all I have.
Great. That was good news about Iris, that's for sure. I would suspect that in order to get rid of this whole issue of parking around the high school, that we do some sort of restriction on all those streets. Just get it done. You know, it keeps getting, every time we put up restrictions on one street, it gets moved to the next street going east, so we might as well just address them all. So we'll throw that into the hands of the Municipal Services Committee.
That's fine. We've talked about it a lot.
Oh, yes. Yes, we had, I think we had to go back because we got ourselves into a tangle with some language, I remember, but
We tackled it for about 4 months until we came to a resolution, and then now there's another issue. So.
yeah. Well, we kind of figured that the students would find a way to park along there, so. Okay, any other communications to share? All right, let's move on to the mayor's report. And before I read any of the proclamations that I have this evening, I just wanted to make the residents aware of some good news that we had regarding the gas station on the southwest corner of Plainfield and Cass Avenue that we have recently.
Northwest corner.
That's correct, northwest corner of Plainfield and Cass Avenue. And we know the property is under contract, so we are very pleased for that information. Maybe Dan can share a little bit more about that when when the department heads do their informations. But that was very good news to hear that that's been an ongoing issue with that property, and it's going to be exciting to have some resolution to it. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. The first proclamation that I have this evening, where do I have? Okay. Over there. Okay, thank you. Mayoral proclamation for Filipino American History Month. Whereas Filipino Americans make up one of the largest Asian American ethnic groups in the United States, and whereas Filipino Americans have contributed greatly to the economic, intellectual, spiritual, social, cultural, and political vitality of the United States, and whereas the trustees of the Filipino American National Historical Society established Filipino American History Month and promoted its observance annually and nationally throughout the United States and its territories during the month of October, and whereas the celebration of Filipino American History Month provides an opportunity to celebrate the heritage and culture of Filipino Americans and their immense contributions to our country. Now therefore, I, Kathleen Weaver, Mayor of the City of Darien, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2014 as Filipino American History Month and urge all residents to celebrate the heritage and culture of Filipino Americans and their immense contributions to our country. This doesn't require a vote.
No.
This doesn't require a vote. We have Tony Abalera here, who is the president of the Filipino Americans. It's the Filipino Asian Americans, I'll get it right, Southeast. Tony, you want to come up to the microphone and tell me what the title is? I just call it by the acronym FACAD, but that's it stands for.
FACAD stands for Filipino American Association of South DuPage.
That's
consisting about nine towns and cities, including Darien, Naperville, Lyle, Clarendon Hills, Hinsdale, Downers Grove, and the others. Actually, this was initiated by the past president of this group, who is also a director of the Filipino American Historical Society, who is
Ruben Salazar
Ruben
and his wife
Salazar
Merle
and
are here
wife,
this
yes.
evening too.
Yes.
Do you want to all come up and receive this proclamation? Okay. Okay. Oh, Merle's going to take the picture? Yes. Okay. Well, would you both? Okay. Let's do it. Why don't you come up here? Come up in front of the dais. Okay. Then we can get an official picture. Let's first. I'll present this to you. Come on. Okay. And Merle, you can take a picture up here. Get all of these beautiful faces too. Okay.
We need a copy for our wall upstairs. Paul, that's your job.
Mm-hmm.
Is now.
It is now. God always did that.
An excuse for the next 6 months.
That's right.
Did they turn out okay? I think so. Okay. Congratulate you. Yes. Thank you, Ruby. Thank you. I think you have a few words to say. Am I guessing right?
Is it okay to
Oh,
just make
absolutely.
an announcement?
No, go to the microphone.
No, but this is your copy.
Okay, thank you. Well, I've seen this before.
Oh, yes, the newsletter, but
Yeah.
it's every year. And,
Go to the yes, use the microphone.
just a short announcement. This year, we're actually gonna have a film showing at the Indian Prairie Library in Darien, and I would like to invite everyone. It's gonna be on Thursday, October 30, at 6 p.m. This is in celebration of Filipino American History Month. We'll be showing a film called Untold Triumph: The Story of the 1st and 2nd Philippine Infantry Regiment, U.S. Army in the Philippines, in celebration actually of the 70th anniversary of the Battle of Leyte Gulf in the Philippines in 1944. So I invite everyone to come and join us for the film showing. Thank you.
Thanks, Ruben. Thank you. Wow, that's something. Being a history buff, that's a good one. The next mayoral proclamation is Fire Prevention Month. Do we have anyone in the audience that's going to be accepting this evening? Okay. Well, let me read the mayoral proclamation. Whereas smoke and poisonous gases are the leading causes of death in fires and can kill a person long before the flames will, and whereas underestimating the power of the fire and the time it takes to escape a home fire put people at a severe risk of fire death and injury, and whereas developing home fire escape plan and practicing it at least twice a year is critical to escape a fire safely, and whereas it is imperative that multi-story homes and commercial buildings are equipped with working smoke detectors and fire alarms, and whereas a complete home escape plan, which includes each household member knowing 2 ways out of each room, designating an outdoor location to meet when out of the house, and remembering the local fire emergency phone number, and whereas NFPA, the official sponsor of fire prevention, has documented many lives have been saved as a result of having all homes in Illinois equipped with smoke detectors, and whereas the members of the fire service are dedicated to the safety of lives and property from the devastating effects of fire, and whereas the members of the fire service are joined by other concerned citizens as well as other emergency service providers, safety advocates, businesses, schools, service clubs, and organizations in their fire safety efforts, and whereas fire prevention commemorates the Great Chicago Fire of 1871, which killed more than 250 people, left 100,000 homeless, and destroyed more than 17,400 buildings. And whereas for nearly 80 years, NFPA has successfully joined North American fire departments each year during Fire Prevention Week in a shared mission of making the public safer from fire, now therefore I, Kathleen Weaver, Mayor of the City of Darien, do proclaim the month of October 2014 as Fire Prevention Month, and urge the residents of the City of Darien to participate in fire prevention activities at work and school to ensure their safety and the safety of their families and friends in the event of a fire. So we'll get that to the individuals who requested that. The next item is a kind of special one here. This is recognizing someone who went above and beyond the call of duty, especially in the job that she had at Carriage Greens, to step up and save a life. I'd like to read this proclamation. Whereas on Monday, August 25th, 2014, the temperature in the Darien area hit 92 degrees with high humidity, and whereas on the morning of August 25th, 2014, Pete Tenaglia began a round of golf with a friend, and whereas after playing 9 holes of golf, Pete Tenaglia's playing partner noticed Pete was experiencing extreme distress and immediately drove him to the pro shop where 911 was called. And whereas a number of employees ran outside to try and help, but no one could find a pulse, His color was ashen, and his face and his eyes were fixed and dilated. And whereas at that point, Nancy Breyer, restaurant manager at Carriage Greens, ran outside and began chest compressions while instructing Mr. Tenaglia's golf partner to begin performing breaths every few seconds. And whereas Mr. Tenaglia showed no signs of life, Nancy Breyer continued chest compressions, and whereas as the paramedics arrived, Mr. Tenaglia made a sound, and whereas the paramedics found a weak pulse, put Mr. Tenaglia in the ambulance and began working on him. And whereas it was later learned that Mr. Tenaglia was shocked 5 times and was placed in an induced coma for approximately 1 week. And whereas due to the quick thinking and life-saving action taken by Nancy Breyer, Mr. Tenaglia is alive and on the road to recovery. Now therefore, Kathleen Weaver, Mayor of the City of Darien, do hereby proclaim the 6th day of October 2014 as Nancy Breyer Day in the City of Darien, and urge all residents to recognize her life-saving efforts. Nancy, do you want to come up and receive this? You take this. Do you want to say a few words? Okay.
Nancy.
Oh, he wants to take a picture.
Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, Dale's going to take a picture here, huh? Okay. Do we trust you with the camera, Dale?
Nancy, up here more.
Okay, come on.
I just want to say that I don't really consider myself a hero. God put me there at the right time to do the right thing. And my greatest reward was a week ago when the gentleman walked into the country club with only the use of a cane, and he's perfectly functional and only has a little bit of short-term memory loss. So they lost him 4 times during the first week and got him back. And it was a miracle. And it was just God's will that it wasn't his time to go. And that was my day off. And I wasn't even supposed to be there. So it was just one of those things that God wanted to happen, and it did. So thank you so much for this. I appreciate it.
Nancy, what did he bring to you when he came into the country club?
A big bouquet of flowers. Yeah. And he said that he couldn't repay me, so that's what he brought.
That's
Nancy,
very special.
How long did you take CPR classes? Apparently, correct?
During my college days, which was like in 1832, I taught first aid for the Red Cross. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It never leaves you, I guess.
No, I guess not.
Yeah.
Thank God it didn't, right?
Yes. Pete
Yeah.
Tenaglia says thank you. Thank God.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Okay, thanks, Nancy.
Thank you, Nancy.
That is a nice story. Okay, next item on the mayor's report is our annual financial report, and do you want to make make some comments there?
Yeah, this
Treasurer
evening.
Corn?
This evening we have Jim Savio, who's the partner in charge of our audit. He's with the firm Sikich and Company. He's going to be presenting our annual audit for the period ended April 30th, 2014. Review some of the procedures. He's up there with our assistant city manager, Paul Nosek, who's also going to review some procedures that Alderman MacGyver, unfortunately, she's not here tonight in terms of reviewing some internal control procedures with us. So
Okay.
take it away, gentlemen.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for the introduction. As Mike said, my name is Jim Savio. I'm a partner with Sikich LLP. I want to thank you all first for inviting me here tonight to present the annual financial report. I also want to thank Brian, Mike, and Paul, and the entire staff for all their help during the entire audit process. Everything went very smoothly. As far as the audit schedule goes, we normally come out in March or April for a planning meeting, so we'll take a couple hours to just go over the entire year and see what has Is that better?
Yeah, that's a little bit better, yes, thank you.
We usually meet for a planning meeting, usually March or April, just to go over the entire fiscal year to see what's changed during the year. We usually have some preliminary field work, usually about a day, beginning of May. I think we're May 2nd this year. And then final field work, usually about a week and a half to 2 weeks in June. This year we came out on June 9th. And we issued our final report September 22nd. Like I said, everything went very smoothly, very efficiently, and the entire staff was very cooperative. What I'd like to do is I'll just touch on a few of the highlights of the annual financial report, and then I'll just talk briefly on the auditor's communication report as well, too. On page 1 of the annual financial report is the independent auditor's report. Now, these 3 pages are the only 3 pages that we as auditors are responsible for. Management is responsible for the rest of the document. On page 2, up at the top is the opinion paragraph, and we have an unmodified opinion, which is the highest level of assurance that we can provide to the city. It basically states that everything, the financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects. Turning a couple pages over to MD&A page 1, this is management's discussion and analysis, and this was prepared by Paul and presents a good overview of the city's financial position as well as changes in financial position and the reason for any significant changes during the year. It also provides some comparative data that you can't find in the rest of the audit. So it's, I always say if there's only one thing you want to read in this entire 69-page document, to read the management's discussion and analysis. Turning to page 4, actual page 4, not MD&A page 4. On pages 4 through 6 is the statement of net position or the balance sheet, and then the statement of activities or basically the income statement. These are the consolidated financial statements of the city, so it provides all of the funds of the city except for the fiduciary funds. So the police pension fund and the 2 agency funds aren't included in these government-wide statements. And basically, it's presented on what we call the economic resources measurement focus and the full accrual basis of accounting. So what that basically means, it has a long-term focus, and the financials are similar to what you would find in the private sector. The one thing I'll point out on page 4, which is the statement of net position, all the way down at the bottom, your net position, or what you would call retained earnings in the private sector, unrestricted net position for the governmental activities is about $8.7 million, and then business type activities is about $2.2 million. And then on page 6, on the statement of activities, all the way down at the bottom, the change in net position or your net income, an increase in the governmental activities of about $804,000, and a loss in the business type activities or your water operations fund of about $421,000. Mainly due to depreciation and interest expense as well. Turning to page 7, starting on page 7 are the fund financial statements, and these are presented on the current financial resources measurement focus and then modified accrual basis. So what that means is basically it's short-term in nature. So there's no capital assets, no long-term debt. So more of a budgetary basis financial statements, which you may be more familiar with. And it presented major funds, and then all of the non-major funds are rolled into one column. As you can see, the 4th column over on page 7, your non-major funds. On page 7, the balance sheet, I'll just point out real quickly, the unassigned general fund balance, that first column, all the way down at the bottom, is about $3.7 million, or about 36% of your current year general fund expenditures. So about a 4-month reserve in the unassigned balance. And your capital improvements fund, which is the next column over, assigned for capital improvements at the end of the year, about $5.2 million available for capital improvements. On page 9 is the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. Just want to point out real quickly, also in the general fund, which is that first column, net change in fund balance, a loss of about $800,000, but that's after a transfer of about $3.7 million into the capital improvements fund. Turning to page 12 is the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position for the water operations fund. About halfway down, you can see your operating income before depreciation was a little bit of a loss, about $58,000. So you're basically break even before depreciation. And then down at the bottom, change in net position or your net income, loss of about $421,000. mainly due to, as I said previously, depreciation expense and then interest expense as well. And the next page over, you can see on a cash flow perspective, your water operations had a net operating increase in cash up at the top, increase of about $568,000 in cash, and then a total increase in cash about halfway down the page of about $337,000. So a loss on a modified accrual basis, but on a cash flow basis, you were ahead about $337,000. And on page 15 is the statement of changes in fiduciary net position for your police pension fund. Net investment income in the middle of the page, about $1.4 million, and then total increase of about $1.3 million after all deductions, the majority of which were pension benefit payments. So a good year for the police pension fund. Turning to page 32, we're in the footnotes of the financial statements. Just want to point this out if anyone's interested in more detail on the long-term debt activity for the city. On pages 32 through 35, there's additional information on your debt activities. And then on page 45 is the schedule of funding progress for your Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund. Pensions, I know, are a hot topic. If you look over fourth column over the funded ratio, which takes your actuarial value of your assets divided by the actuarial accrued liability, it gives you your funded ratio. 75% this year, up about 7%. On a true market value basis, what IMRF does is they smooth out investment gains as losses over 5 years. So if you took the true market value of your assets at December 31st, 2013, the funded ratio would actually be 92% instead of that 75%. And an interesting thing to point out with IMRF, retirees are not included in these numbers. Retirees are funded at 100%. So if those were included as well, the funded ratio would be even higher. So well funded for your Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund. And then page 46 shows the same schedule of funding progress for your police pension fund. It's been pretty steady around 63%, 60 to 63% funded ratio. A little bit lower than IMRF, but close to the benchmarks for similar sized municipalities for you. So with that, I'll turn over. I just want to point out a few things on the auditor's communication report. If you turn to the table of contents, there's a cover letter. There's some required communication with those charged with governance, so the city council, that we're required to communicate to you under Statement on Auditing Standards 114. After that are some adjusting journal entries, which are basically audit adjustments that we found, or audit adjustments that you expect us to book. So those are listed out after the required communication. And then there's also a list of what we call past adjustments. These are adjustments that are so immaterial that we did not record them because they were deemed immaterial. And then the management letter follows after that on pages 11 through 15. I want to point out no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. We did have 3 comments that we consider to be deficiencies. Also, there's a list of new Governmental Accounting Standards Board pronouncements. The largest and most significant one in recent years is going to be GASB 68, which is going to require you to record your pension expense basically on a full accrual basis now instead of more of a pay-as-you-go basis. So that's going to greatly increase your footnote disclosures and required supplementary information, as well as recording the actuarial unfunded liability directly on your financial statements at the government-wide level and then in your water operations fund as well. And then Appendix A just shows the status of the prior year comments. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions on either of the reports.
I was just going to jump in there a minute ago, but does the IMRF requirements similar to the police pension requirements as far as the amount of funding that has to be that is required to be done by a date certain?
Similar. If you look on page, let me look here, page 40, footnote 10, it lists out a lot of the actuarial assumptions for both IMRF and the police. So they are similar as far as like cost methods. The asset valuation method is a little bit different.
Okay.
And then they amortize it. IMRF amortizes on an open basis, which means it's 30 years, but it's 30 years every year. Police pension, it's 28 years closed, which means it's amortized over 28 years this year, then 27 years next year, until at some point it'll be fully funded. So it's a little bit different.
Okay.
Police pension's a little more aggressive since it's a closed basis.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the accountant? Jim?
I'd just like to make one general comment. I'd like to thank Jim and his firm. I believe this is the 6th year you're performing our audit, although, Jim, this is your second year. I
Second year,
believe there was
correct.
a prior partner involved in prior years, but I think the relationship has been very good. I mean, I'm speaking for you too, Paul, I think here. They're very proactive in performing the audit. I mean, they get together with us, as he indicated, doing preliminary work, meeting first to set up the dates, what our expectations are, when we can have the work to them, when they can get in and do it. They've always met all our date expectations. In fact, we've even accelerated the process by about 30 days compared to where it had been done in the past. So I think it's been a very good relationship. They're very proactive also in letting us know about these disclosures and things that are coming down the pike in the future. They also brought up a recommendation that will be coming to the council probably in the next month or so. We have to go through finance first. We discussed it briefly in tonight's finance meeting, and that's the IMRF. When times were tough, we borrowed a little bit of money, so we have some money we owe them. They brought up a great suggestion. It's about $50,000, but they are charging us 7.5% interest on it. We do have the funds available, so we'll be coming to council to pay that, to save us the 7.5% on that, and that was at their suggestion. So they do more than just tick and trace and look at this number and that number. They are a very valuable resource. Paul and I call them periodically. Tim Gavin, who's the audit manager, he's not here tonight, but we met with him with the finance committee. As always, he's made the extra effort. He's come in where we've had little questions and that thing, how we should do things. He's come out at no charge to us. So again, it's been a very good relationship, and I thank you for your effort, Jim, and Paul, for the work you put in getting the job done.
Well, I especially like all the highlights you did this evening. It was, I believe, a lot more thorough than past presentations, so I appreciated all of the pages that you pointed out.
I worry about boring people with the numbers. So
Well, it's got to be done, you know? It's got to be
Exactly.
done.
As long as they're not red, we're happy.
Yes, yes.
I think, and Paul, I think had said that there was a question on the questionnaire that we send to the city council every year.
Now, was Paul going to address that, or Jim, were you going to address that?
I was going to have
Paul.
the auditor,
Jim,
address that
okay.
initially.
Yeah, we're required by auditing standards, specifically a statement on auditing standards 99, which is consideration of fraud in a financial statement audit. And that standard and several others came out in response to some of the high-profile audit failures that happened, I think, over 10 years ago now, but like Enron and WorldCom. So there was a slew of new standards that came out, including SAS 99. And one of the requirements of SAS 99 is we ask various people throughout the city about their knowledge of any fraud. Before SAS 99, we would talk to people in finance, but we never went beyond that. Now we're required to, talk to city council, talk to department heads and other departments, as well as we'll randomly pick a few people here and there to also either interview or send a questionnaire to. So it's an audit requirement. It helps us. It helps us to plan the audit, so we don't have people coming in, beating down our door saying there's this fraud occurring, that fraud occurring. But they come in and they'll say, I don't think fraud's occurring, but I've always been concerned with this particular area, and that helps us to kind of tailor our audit to where the risks are at. So that kind of, in a nutshell, is Statement on Auditing Standards 99, and kind of why we send the questionnaires. We interview. We'll interview or send questionnaires also to employees as well. So be happy to answer any other questions on that.
I guess I have a question on the procedure for the initial management letter that was given in August. So there was different categories. Like in that letter, there was a significant deficiency under a category, and then a deficiency. But then in the final one, now it's just regular deficiencies, and then something was added. So how does things change, like from the beginning stages to what you actually decide in the management letter for a final version?
Well, we had discussions with Paul as well as management on that one to kind of decide whether it was, should have been a significant deficiency or a deficiency. And in the end, we decided, since it was relatively new this year and it wasn't a recurring issue, that we would lower it from a significant deficiency to a deficiency. There's some judgment in what needs to be a deficiency versus a significant deficiency. So we decided, since it was a new comment, that we would lower it to just a deficiency. But
So
we did want it.
basically, you present the first letter and then you talk it through, because some things, you
Yeah.
might not have thought of, and then you come to a conclusion and make any edits.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
Any other questions for Jim? Thank you very much
Great.
for stopping by.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate
Okay.
it.
Yeah, Paul's going to, I guess Alderman McIver asked of Paul to go over our internal controls.
Briefly, Alderman McIver, because of the fraud questionnaire that everyone gets, was concerned about our internal control procedures. So I handed out at the last Admin Finance Committee meeting our internal control procedures that we give to the auditors every year. We update them and they review them. To go over them, it's about a 10-page document. Probably wouldn't be prudent right now, but I could go through the major categories, talk a little bit about them. If you wanted to ask Jim how they go ahead and review our internal control procedures, we could do that as well, and maybe he could describe how they test them. So I guess if we want to do that first, if you could describe a little bit how you go through our internal controls.
We actually don't test internal controls. We consider internal controls when we plan our audit, but we don't actually do any test of controls. What we do is gain an understanding of those controls. So we'll have a memo of the internal controls. What we do is identify the key controls in those in the internal control structure, and then what we do are walkthroughs. So we'll do like walkthrough of a couple transactions in each transaction cycle. So your cash receipts, cash disbursements, payroll, utility billing. And we'll walk through a couple of transactions to make sure that the key controls that we have documented are actually in place and functioning as they're described. So we don't, if you were to have a single audit, which is required if you expend more than $500,000 in federal funds, we would do some test of controls related to that single audit. But since you didn't have over $500,000 in federal funds, we don't. So we basically, that's one of the things we do at preliminary field work, is we go through the internal controls, see if there's been any changes, do those walkthroughs, because we do that in the planning stage, so we can develop our audit procedures after that. So.
I guess I'll just open up the floor to any questions regarding specific transaction types, or any other questions you may have regarding the internal controls.
But Paul, maybe you can just, again, you mentioned there's a number of categories without going in depth, and obviously what you sent to the admin committee, the full city council, we could send the email out so they could read that, but why don't you just bullet point maybe the categories?
Sure, we have the revenue and cash receipting cycle, the expenditures and purchasing cycle, the payroll cycle, fixed assets, and then debt and financing cycle. Each of those has its own procedures that we have documented, and that we follow, and as Jim noted, he reviews every year.
And Paul, probably a key component of that, if we can, is our segregation of duties. That comes into play, in a lot of things we do, and, errors we have seen in other communities. And it's always a challenge with a smaller staff, but why don't you comment on the segregation of duties?
Well, we do have a lot of checks and balances. The nice thing is that we have Mike Korn as our treasurer, and being a CPA, he's very good at catching a lot of these issues, and he does help as a double check to our regular internal control procedures. But we do have segregation of duties. For example, me being the accountant reconciling the bank statements, I have no authorities to cut any checks, receive any money, or enter those transactions. So that's just one procedure. We do have other double checks where all of the managers approve the payroll, and it goes through about 4 or 5 different checks before payroll is finally issued. So, any other questions or comments?
I guess we're on board with that.
Okay.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
And I think it's safe to say that we should send those out. Again, we'll send those out.
Internal
Yeah,
controls.
within the next week. And again, as everybody is in the position to, again, fill out the documents next year, you would have had those, at least a copy of all those.
Knowledge of those.
Yep.
Okay.
Before we go too far, you might want to make a point of it. Just for our understanding and people watching at home, you've said some really great things about this firm, and we're going to probably be going out to bid, so look for another firm. Just explain, why we would, look for another firm if these guys are so good.
Well, yeah, well, just as a government entity, just like so many other things that we purchase, we want to make sure we're getting the best bang for our buck. So we've had them for about the last 6 years. We've had 2 3-year contracts with them, and the second 3-year contract is up. So we will be going out soliciting. They're welcome to bid on it. I mean, hopefully they will, because I think we've had a good relationship. But other firms also will be bidding on it, and this way we'll at least be able to compare and make sure that we as a government entity are getting a fair price for our residents.
Is it 3 or 4 years?
The last one was a 3 years.
Was it 3 year?
And the one before that, I believe, was 3 years.
Okay, so we changed it to 3-year terms.
Yeah, I don't remember if we had maybe a 1-year extension on one of those. I don't recall without looking back. I'm remembering something. We might have had just a 1-year extension. I would have to check.
There's nothing magical about one versus the other. I mean, if
Well,
council,
in past history, the cycle would be, it would change, that we'd do RFPs with the term of the mayor.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, one thing I guess that's important to note, and I shouldn't say this in front of Jim, but even though they give us a 3-year contract, it doesn't mean that after 1 year that we can't say, oh, we're tired of them, or we want somebody else. They could change partners. In fact, they did rotate partners. Could change partners, or we may just find, again, you do get a change in administration, and they feel they do want to change in auditors. So it's not a contract that we're bound by it by 3 or 4 years. So we can get out of it if we want, but it does at least give them the commitment that we'd like to be committed to them. I wouldn't recommend that unless the circumstances were, the relationship changed dramatically in a negative way.
Well, and I don't think we even call it an RFP. Don't we call it an RFQ instead? Don't we just, is it a
We
request for
accepted
qualifications?
proposals
We
because
do?
there was more than just qualifications. We actually are asking for dollar amounts, so we are
Okay.
accepting proposals.
All right.
And then we base part of the award recommendation on the qualifications.
Okay. Paul, did you have a comment?
No.
No, okay. Alderman Marquez?
Just a question, Michael. Is it advantageous to us to have a company for 6 years like that, in that they know us, almost like Christopher Burke knows us, so it's advantageous to have Christopher Burke?
Well, there's 2 schools of thought on that. And when I had my own practice, I mean, I was doing the same thing we're doing here. I mean, we would typically quote and do 3 or 4 year proposals because you do get a change in management. And periodically you would get that question raised. Is it good to get another company in here just to
Right.
get a fresh look? Naturally, when it was my practice, I always tried to discourage that. I mean, how much better can you get than me? I mean, there's no question about it. I think as long as the relationship is good and still intact and they still bring things to the table, I mean, I like keeping the longer term relationship because they know us. I mean, some of the things, if you bring a new firm in, yeah, they're really getting their feet wet the whole first year.
Right.
They're doing a lot more detailed things as opposed to right now. Sikich knows us very well, so they know where our strengths and weaknesses are, and they can focus on looking for other areas, things that we might not be thinking about, and where they can offer these other suggestions, as I've mentioned before. So again, there's 2 schools of thought on it. I'm not going to say one is right, one is wrong. But again, I mean, the relationship could change. So even though it is a 3 or 4 year proposal, if we like Jim and next year they put a new partner on and we don't feel he's effective, I mean, at that point, I would probably recommend that we start looking elsewhere. But
Okay.
I mean, I personally like the continuity in it. But that's
Okay.
my
And
own-
Mike, in addition
my
to
own
the
opinion.
continuity, you're still getting new field workers. And you're still getting people that have different sets of eyes, even if you're with the same company, because they are reviewing a lot of what we do, whereas Burke, it facilitates things we want to do with him. The others are checking over and looking at a lot of things. But as you get different people that they're within their company that are out doing the field work, that continues the independence while still maintaining, the good work with the firm.
And even Sikich even does an internal, even though Jim's the partner on our job. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, but I believe you have another partner inside the firm who doesn't really come out here that actually reviews your work once again. So there's another partner review, which again is another good secondary
we
check.
have 4 government partners in our Naperville office. So like Mike says, it's only my second year in the audit, so we did rotate partners. That's an option you can have too. But yeah, we have a quality, a resource partner, and then a quality control partner as well. So they'll do a second review of the financial statements as well as some of the select work papers too. So, and like I said, we have 4 partners that only do governments. That's all we do. So there is that additional resource.
Is that the steps that Sikich takes with having others?
Correct.
Is that
Part of our
unique to you, or is that a requirement now by the government to have that many hands in?
Yeah, there's no requirement, so it's
Okay.
just part of our internal quality control
Okay.
document
Yeah.
that we have those additional reviews. So.
Yeah, well, it's really important that we go out for proposals.
definitely,
No, absolutely, because that is where our transparency comes from. I mean, we can look around at all sorts of situations that happen just in our own state that makes people, curious, wonder about, how our cities auditing their books, because we've seen some pretty big scandals recently. So it's, just the fact that we go out to proposal is a very important thing that we do.
And it is more than dollars we're looking for. For instance, several people have approached me, say, "Oh, how do I get to bid on it?" And obviously, anyone can bid on it. But Sikich, their strength, their forte, and their area of expertise is in governmental accounting. And even though I was in the business for over 35 years myself, once I got elected treasurer, government accounting is quite a bit different than your typical private practice accounting out there. It does take special expertise to do it. I mean, I would not consider anyone that did not have at least some government expertise in reviewing the information.
Well, I think we've been very fortunate to have some very high-quality accounting firms been on our business in the past. I recall that we've had opportunities to review some really fine companies, so.
I was going to add to that too, exactly my point, because one of the questions I asked was how much government work do you do, and at that point you said 30 to 40% is government. So,
Correct.
This way you can also look at what other municipalities are doing and see some outliers there, and also maybe if you found something that didn't go quite right there, you would be knowing to kind of dive into our situation to see if you could find
Correct.
anything.
Yeah, we do about 450 units of local government. So and we have a team that's solely dedicated to government, so that's all we do year-round. We don't do this when we're just trying to fill time in the summer, during the non-tax season. So, yeah, we definitely have expertise in government, for sure. So.
Okay. Any other questions for Jim? Thank you again. Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Let's move to our city clerk's report.
I have 2 items, Madam Mayor. Meet and greet with the mayor will take place on Monday, October 20th at 6 p.m. here at City Hall in the upstairs conference room. And also the City of Darien election packets for the office of mayor, clerk, treasurer, Alderman Ward 2, 4, and 6 are available at City Hall for pickup. And city office hours are Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. until 5 p.m. And the information will be for the place on the ballot for the consolidated general election, which will take place on April the 7th of 2015.
Okay, city administrator's report.
Thank you, Mayor Weaver. One item for the residents at home. You might have heard Scott Korn has taken a new position with a new community, and we all congratulated him. Well-deserved and well-earned. He's now the city manager for Highwood, Illinois, and I've spoken to him a couple of times, and I know he'll do a great job there as he did here. And also for those of you who may not have heard, Paul Nosek, who's been with us approximately 8 years, was promoted that position as assistant city administrator, and I know Paul did the same great job Scott did. So again, if you have any questions you normally would have from myself or Scott, contact Paul or myself. And again, we look forward to filling the shoes that Scott had with Paul, and he'll do a great job. Thank you.
Department head information.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, City Council, our viewing residents at home, and our audience. A couple things this evening. First of all, on the agenda, we have the tree program. Pending City Council approval, the tree program this year, beginning December 1st, will consist of trimming in the woodlands of Darien, Clarefield, Marion Hill South, Farmingdale Terrace, Farming Terrace West, Portsmouth, Violet's Farm, Farmingdale Heights, Marion Hills North, Brookdale, Farmingdale Terrace South, High Point Circle, Brookhaven 1, and Reflections of Hidden Lakes. Again, this is for the upcoming tree trimming program. In conjunction with the tree trimming program, again this year, we have the, I'll call it the famous at this point, tree trimming for private residences. This year, the cost is comparable to last year's. I'll go over the cost real quick for the rear yard. The rear yard is $135. For the front yard, it's $70. And the removal of a tree is what's referred to as diameter by height, which is basically at about chest level, the inches or circumference around a tree, and that's $27.50 per diameter by height, or to keep it simple, the circumference at chest height. In conjunction with that, we have the stump grinding for the front, which is $50, and we have stump grinding for the back, which is $75. I'd like to encourage residents that are interested in the private property tree program to reach out to Ryan. He's our contact for Homer Tree, and that phone number is 815-838-0320. You can also reach him on via email, which is Ryan, and that's RYAN at homertree.com. Any additional questions, please feel free to contact the city staff. More than happy to address any questions you have. This program for the private property is going to be going on till March 20th is the deadline for residents to call in. So there's plenty of time. We're going to get the rest of the information out pending City Council approval this evening. We'll be putting it on all our media portals tomorrow. The next one is another one in front of City Council for this evening is the Kentwood Bridge Project. The Kentwood Bridge Project is a project that's basically going to shut down the road on the 8400 block of Kentwood for approximately 7 weeks. We plan on starting October 13th to remove and replace a existing bridge that serves as a roadway bridge as well as a tributary creek. We'll be handing out notices to residents, but wanted to make sure that the viewing audience obviously knows it is a well-traveled road, so we will have detours in effect as well. Next item I want to go over was Darien Point, or the former Heritage Plaza. I think everyone, we could finally say with some excitement that the building is looking at coming down Wednesday, or most of the building up to Jim's Meat Market. Currently, they've been working on some asbestos abatements. That's all been rectified and remediated. In conjunction with that, tomorrow you'll be seeing some, if anyone's interested, you'll be seeing some of the structural temporary bracing going on for the Heritage Plaza, which involves cutting brick and putting up additional temporary supports. In conjunction with that, the amenity for the corner of the southeast, northeast corner of Plainfield and Cass. We'll get those corners right, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Northeast corner, the amenity, the caissons, we're going to be drilling the holes tomorrow. So if anyone's interested in seeing holes drilled at 42-inch diameters by 10 and 12 foot down, please feel free to come out there and take a look at it. I know I'm going to take a look at it. I still get into the construction aspects of things.
Where do we park, Dan, if we take a look at it?
You may have the opportunity to park along the brand-new curb that was recently poured, and if we need additional parking, we'll make special arrangements on Cass Avenue. No, I'm just kidding on that, but by all means, Heritage Plaza has plenty of parking, so feel free to come by. Wednesday, we'll be pouring the concrete. So if anybody wants to watch concrete pour, please feel free to come out. That's it. I'll stop with that construction point of it. One of the items that we looked at recently, and I want to bring to City Council's attention, was the colors of the proposed clock tower. What staff has done, we've looked at several different colors, actually a lot of colors. And we came up with a conclusion of the following colors, so I'd like to take a moment to present the colors to the City Council. If anybody wants to take a look in the audience at the colors, please feel free to come up here and take a look at them.
Is it on, it's not on the camera?
You know,
I mean,
I'm
on
not
the
sure if
screen?
how the camera can catch them. I know the cameras don't do what they used to do in the past as far as what you see here, you'd see on the TVs. First of all, the building colors are referred to as a burgundy red color on the brick. So what we wanted to do was basically put a color onto the tower, which is the steel portions, not the roof, and that color would be what's referred to as a rustic red base. Okay, so the rustic red base is down the bottom in the middle, if everybody can see the color. So that's sort of a reddish color. The roof itself was proposed to be a birchwood brandy, and that's a little bit of a darker brown. So again,
Is that the one on the left side or the right
correct.
side?
It will be on my right, your left, correct. So that was, staff came up with those two colors. We also put another color in there that the city administrator liked, I believe was called
But it-
gray,
It
yes.
obviously got shot down.
Yes,
okay.
didn't go very
I don't
far.
know why he humored me and even asked.
Well, we wanted to give the city administrator an opportunity to at least express some viewpoints. Anyway, that's the color scheme that we looked at. What we'd like to do is get some additional comment, whether it's from the public and or city council. We'll leave this upstairs. We're about probably 6 to 7, minimal of 6 to 8 weeks out for the painting. But we thought it was something very important. And we looked at the colors to blend everything in from the water tower to Speedway to Bona Beef to Brookhaven to all developments and basically pull all these colors in as part of the final attraction, if you want to say. So that's kind of where it's at, and I'll leave it for comments after my presentation tonight here. The other thing I wanted to comment on this evening was the drainage program, which again is another item that's before the city council this evening. The drainage program, and what I'm referring to is the rear yard drainage programs. This year, we've been overwhelmed with the projects. Specifically, we have 11 projects, probably at close to 15 at one point. Some of those have just diminished, gone away, just a lack of participation. Residents have come back to us and gotten their own petitions after a project was shot down. We had 2 cases of that this year. One of them was residents that are on Ironwood and Sierra, who happened to come back and basically brought a petition back. We want you to do this project, and they got the signatures from the residents on their own. So again, I just want to share some of that, how important those projects have been this year, how valuable they've been. So if there's any additional comments from City Council on that, I'd be more than happy to listen to those. And also these rear yard drainage programs, this year there's going to be a contribution from the residents of approximately $26,000 of their monies that they're participating in through these contracts that are administered by the city for these programs. Other than that, one more item. Again, Mayor Weaver, you asked me to comment on the gas station at the corner. Let me get this corner correct. On the northwest corner of Plainfield and Cass, it's been referred to lately as the no-name gas station. Prior to, it's been referred to as the Phillips. Recently, the staff has learned that the gas station is under contract through an LLC, and we don't have any further details except that we know that the gas station is under contract, so hopefully we will be working soon with some type of new development on that corner. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Dan?
Dan, do you just want to give any update on 75th and Cass? I know we get updates regularly, but for the public, you might want to just state what some of your conversations have been like with the county.
Yes, staff has been very diligent in attending the meetings, what they're referred to as weekly construction meetings. Again, the city of Darien has expressed concern in the past in regards to the schedule. The schedule, again, is approximately 6 weeks behind. I can say, and I think a lot of residents, some residents have commented to me, and I'm not sure if the council members have had the opportunity to see how much activity has really been happening at this point. While they're moving along, they're still behind schedule. And again, the county basically had a very stern conversation with the recently at the last meeting and with the contractor and staying on schedule. So we'll keep the city council up to date on the information. But at this point, it looks like there will be no surface, meaning the final coat on the roadways. And the landscaping is debatable, and whether the landscaping will get debatable. Keep in mind, landscaping in DuPage County terms means sodding it or seeding it, whereas they'll come back the following year with a landscape architectural plan, which includes trees, bushes, whatever the case is in that respect.
Okay. Any other questions for Dan?
Dan, I'm sorry, along the same lines, the mounds of dirt that are still there, they'll be off prior to the winter season? I mean, that would be part of their plan?
Well, I want to say yes. I'll be careful in saying it, because if the right-of-ways aren't ready to accept them, then they may stay there.
Okay.
They've been putting a lot of the dirt along I saw the northern portion of the property along 75th near the museum and the schools.
Correct, and if you notice, DuPage County has been, obviously took what the city of Darien said in respect to the building the berm, so there is some elevations and some contours to those right-of-ways.
Okay. I like those egress and ingress into Eisenhower, too. I like the way that flows. Those look good. Those look real good.
We had a couple meetings with the schools, and the schools, no complaints. They're very receptive to what has happened so far.
Okay, thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Chief, any reports?
No, ma'am, not tonight.
On the subject of 75th and Cass, the issue of accidents, a question came up. Do you have a number on accidents that have occurred because of the construction?
I can get you that number. We originally, when the construction first began, there were a lot more accidents than there have been recently. But
Hey, Chief, I apologize. I've got the number for you because I was working on something else with Carol.
Okay.
School District 61 had asked a question: how many accidents were at 75th and Cass? And over a 2-year period, the last 2 years, they had 121 accidents there, but they couldn't determine the severity, whether it be a fender bender, whether it be multi-car accident, whatever the case may be. But you have had 121 over a 2-year period.
And that would not include the construction time?
No.
Yeah, so that's pretty, I was asking directly as to how many accidents during the construction time. Alderman Marquez?
Those of you who might remember when I think it was Chris Snyder from the
Yeah.
county originally came out several years ago, one of the reasons they wanted to reconstruct 75th and Cass, according to Chris, is 75th and Cass had the highest property damage due to car accidents of any intersection on the 75th Street corridor from Route 59 all the way to Route 83. Lamont and 75th was the second highest. So that 100 and something is not surprising, because that's one of the reasons they wanted to reconstruct it, was because of the amount of property damage due to car accidents.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay. If there's no other questions for our department heads, let's move on to questions and comments, agenda-related. Standing committee reports, I'm sorry. We don't want.
We missed the treasurer's report.
Oops, hey, you know what? I thought we were all done with
I
you.
know I've already spoken enough tonight, unfortunately.
Please go over the warrants.
Requesting approval of warrant number 141509 in the amount of $682,240.05, and payroll for the period ended September 4th, 2014, the amount of $237,428.48, for a total to be approved of $919,668.53.
Motion to approve. Alderman Belzak, seconded by Alderman Seifert. Any questions? The roll, please.
Belzak?
Aye.
Seifert?
Aye.
Shower?
Aye.
Marquez,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Belkey,
Aye.
6 ayes, 1 absent.
The next warrant?
And since we didn't have a meeting last meeting, I'm also requesting approval of warrant number 141510 in the amount of $469,177.28 from the listed funds, as well as payroll for the period ended September 18th in the amount of $269,888.19 for a total be approved of $739,065.47.
Motion to approve? Alderman Seifert, second by Alderman Belzak. Any discussion? The roll, please.
Seifert,
Aye.
Belzak,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Marquez,
Aye.
Shower,
Aye.
Belkey,
Aye.
6 ayes, 1 absent.
Okay, Treasurer, you want to go over the
And the revenue and
report?
expenditure report for the months ended August 31st, 2014 show general fund year-to-date revenue $5,060,022, expenditures of $3,872,436 for a current balance of $2,537,776. Water fund year-to-date revenue of $2,216,614, expenditures of $1,685,877 for a current balance of $1,550,069. Motor fuel tax fund year-to-date revenue of $394,926, expenditures of $120,554 for a current balance of $426,827. Water depreciation fund year-to-date revenue of $1,107, expenditures of $9,477 for a current balance of $298,064. Capital improvement fund year-to-date revenue of $2,630,993, expenditures of $2,369,547 for a current balance of $5,681,042. And the capital projects debt service fund year-to-date revenue $265,139, expenditures of $36,750 for a current balance of $241,802.
Thank you. Any questions for the treasurer?
Did you wanna answer the question that I had earlier about the beginning fund balance?
Oh, okay. Yeah, if any of you go back and review the audit that we did previously, and you look at the opening general fund balance of $3,852,364, you're going to notice that it will differ from the amount being shown in the audited financial statements by approximately $25,000-$30,000. That represents our seizure fund, the new drug seizure fund, which we break out separately now since we're required to track it separately and track it separately for expenses. So this amount that we're reflecting in the general fund here does not include that, even though it really is part of our general fund, but we are doing a separate tracking of that. So if you were, not that you would, but if you did go back and see the two, you would notice they would differ by that $25,000-$30,000.
Okay. Alderman Belkey, do you have another question?
Nope, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Let's move to standing committee reports. Do the chairman have reports? Alderman Marquez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At its last meeting, the Municipal Services Committee approved several sets of minutes, the July 28, 2014, the August 18th, 2014 special meeting, and the August 25th, 2014 Municipal Services Committee meeting. All those minutes were approved and submitted to the clerk's office. And our next scheduled meeting is October 27th, 2014, here in the council chambers at 6:30.
And we have Alderman Shower.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The minutes of the September 2nd, 2014 Admin Finance meeting have been submitted to the clerk's office. And our next Admin Finance meeting will be held on Monday, November 3rd, 2014 in our upstairs meeting room.
Okay. And the chairman of the police committee is not here this evening. Did you have a report?
I was just going to say, the police committee will be meeting on Monday, October 20th at 6 o'clock across the street at the police training room.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to questions, comments, agenda related. Do any of the aldermen have any comments?
I have one thing. I have that the police pension board is going to be meeting.
Yeah, I was going to mention that next meeting. The Police Pension Board will be meeting on Wednesday, October 29th at 7 p.m. instead of, we usually have it in the police training room, but due to the goal-setting session being set up at the same time, they're going to meet here in council chambers. So you're going to take the police training room, and I
You
guess
guys
we're
are
going to
gonna be
take
over
the chambers, and I'm going to run back and forth between the two.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, questions, comments, agenda related? I think we covered everything during the work session. Does anyone in the audience have any questions, agenda related this evening? Let's move on to old business, and there being no old business, I'll move directly to the consent agenda. There are a few items, I'll mention them. The first item is a motion to grant waiver of the raffle license bond requirement for the Reconnect Girls on behalf of the Susan G. Komen Chicago area. The next item is a motion granting a waiver of the $50 a day fee for the Class J temporary liquor license for Our Lady of Peace Catholic School. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution awarding a contract to Homer Tree Care in an amount not to exceed $78,075 for the city's 2014-15 tree trimming and removal program. The next item is a motion to approve the recommendation to release executive session minutes that no longer require confidentiality. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution appointing an authorized delegate to the Intergovernmental Risk Management Agency. And the last item is a motion to approve a resolution appointing Paul Nozak as the Freedom of Information Officer for administration. Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Belke, seconded by Alderman Marquez. The roll, please.
Belke,
Aye.
Marquez,
Aye.
Belzak,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Seifert,
Aye.
Shower,
Aye.
6 ayes, 1 absent.
All items have been approved. Under new business, we have a motion to approve a resolution to increase the funding for the residential rear yard drainage assistance program in an amount of $20,000. Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Shower, seconded by Alderman Belzak. The reason we're asking for additional funds is the program has become very popular, and we've had more and more residents want to participate in it. And Dan highlighted it in his report. So very happy to see that this program has really taken off and residents are using it. Any discussion? The roll, please.
Shower,
Aye.
Belzak,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Belke,
Aye.
Seifert,
Aye.
Marquez,
Aye.
6 ayes, 1 absent.
Item B under new business has been removed for this meeting, and the issue of Mi Hacienda was addressed by the owner of Mi Hacienda this evening, and we're going to ask the Municipal Services Committee to readdress the issue. The next item under new business is a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with Austin Tyler Construction, Inc., in an amount not to exceed $149,000. That's right, $159,660 for the reconstruction of the Kentwood Court Stormwater Drainage Infrastructure and Reconstruction Project located within the 8700 block of Kentwood Court. Do we have a motion to approve? Alderman Shower, seconded by Alderman Seifert. Discussion. The roll, please.
Shower,
Aye.
Seifert,
Aye.
Marquez,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Belzak,
Aye.
Belke,
Aye.
6 ayes, 1 absent.
The motion has been approved. Next, we have questions, comments, and announcements of a general nature. Alderman Marquez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Even though it's not on our agenda tonight, I just wanted to remind the council and the viewing public that this Friday and Saturday is Candy Day weekend with the Darien Lions Club in the city of Darien. You'll see Darien Lions Club members out on the street and at local stores this weekend, Friday and Saturday, from 7 o'clock in the morning till 6 in the evening. Residents need to be reminded that 40% of these revenues stay within the city of Darien. The other 60% are mandated to go to the Lions of Illinois Foundation for projects regarding blindness and deafness. And so we ask for your generosity. We will not be on the corners of 75th and Cass, and we will not be on the corner of 75th and Plainfield, but we will be out on other corners and in front of Jewel and Binny's and other locations. So we ask for your consideration, and hopefully you'll drop a dollar or more in our can when we show up. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments?
Did we have a wedding in here?
Did we
this
what?
is
A
breast
wedding
cancer.
in here with the bows?
For breast
Breast
awareness.
cancer
It's breast
awareness.
awareness.
There you go.
Okay, yeah.
That's very nice.
Okay, yes, and Claire was recognized, she's a breast cancer survivor, and she was recognized by an organization, but I'll be darned if I can remember the name of the organization, but she's the one responsible for all of this decorating, in case we forgot
She did a
what the
nice
month
job.
was about, yeah, yeah. So, and no one's in the audience to comment to us, so I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn. Yeah, our spokesperson is not here, so, okay.
Here all night.
Okay, I know. Alderman Kenny, second by Alderman Shower, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.